He's a writer now. He writes novels. The Devil's Hand is his latest. But he led a special operations team in Afghanistan. He was the platoon commander. He's a Navy SEAL, and he was in Afghanistan in 2003. So I'm a simple man, as you know, Commander, and I have a very simple question for you. If you were in charge of the campaign in Afghanistan back in 2003 when you were there, what would you have done?
I want to be a little more blunt and specific than General Petraeus was. And I want to get very specific on what I would do now and what I would have done then. But initially, we had so much, I mean, it's almost like we could not have done this worse had we been specifically trying to make this the worst possible situation that we could. So we have a lot of history to look at here. We have Alexander the Great, we have Genghis Khan, we have 3 British incursions, we have the Soviet experience from 79 to 89. We can apply our Vietnam experience to that. And as Dr. David Kilcullen talks about, they've been provoking, intimidating, protracting, and exhausting forces for centuries. So we know this going in. And we fall victim to our own intellectual inertia because for whatever reason, we decide that we fall victim also to imperial hubris. We're not going to take these lessons and we can do it better than all those armies in the past. So it's called the graveyard of empires for a reason. That's not just a cute marketing tool. And that should have been a clue. So I'm carrying this to my interviews because there's been a lot of changes to the reading lists out there from our military leaders, and they missed something very important that Clausewitz talked about. And he talked about the culminating point of victory. And we hit that in 2001, 2002. And what he means by that is that if you go past that culminating point of victory, then you turn that success into failure. So then we took the next 19 years and we turned that initial success into the disaster that we're seeing today. So,
all right, let me stop you there. So the initial success was that U.S. forces went in, they drove the Taliban out of government, they drove al-Qaeda into the mountains of Pakistan and Afghanistan, and they pacified the country. That was the initial success, correct?
Exactly. Yeah,
all right.
Covered it on
and you were part of that. And you believe that was a noble mission because you had to get al-Qaeda out of their sanctuary after 9/11. Is that correct? Am I correct so far?
That's exactly right. You're right. Destroying that organization, decapitating that organization. And remember, talking heads at the time talked about how long it was going to take, and we did it in months, what they predicted years.
So you and your guys, you and the SEALs, you took care of business. Then, if you had been president and not Bush, you would have withdrawn all U.S. troops out of there?
Well, now you have options. And what we did was focus on reconstruction. We shifted focus to Iraq, and we decided that we were going to somehow combat corruption in a culture that doesn't see it as something wrong. It's just a part of the culture, part of the tribal culture, part of the warlord culture over in Afghanistan. So we bite off a ton more than we can chew, and it becomes this 20-year-long engagement in Afghanistan.
All right, so I want to get specific, though. So you would have, had you been President Bush, pulled out all U.S. troops, or would you have left a force there to make sure the Taliban, who are still hiding up in the mountains, some of them, didn't come back? What would you have done?
Yep, you can either leave one. We have options. You can leave a small force in Afghanistan. You can now go maybe to Pakistan, where we had some initial relations right off the bat. You can go to some other countries bordering, not Iran, but some other countries that border Afghanistan, and you can use those. So there's some options there to look at. Point being, we didn't look at that. We decided to essentially
nation build. And Joe Biden was a big part of that. Joe Biden was the guy. He was there when you were there. I'm sure you didn't see him because you were dodging bullets up in the mountain and he was running around Kabul. But he was a big part. Oh, no, we got to go in and restructure the country and all of that. Okay, so from the jump, you knew that big mission of turning Afghanistan into a functioning democracy that would fight terrorism, Islamic terrorism, you knew that wasn't going to work. Is that correct?
I think most everybody that was in my position at the time knew that wasn't going to work.
Okay.
Anybody that took a couple seconds to study the situation and maybe look at a little history knew that. And
all right.
Right off.
So let's fast forward to today. So you've got this thing, and it spans Bush, and it spans Obama, and it spans Trump. And you got it then, thanks to Trump, who wanted out of there, but wasn't going to go out like this. He would have hit back and hit back hard. So now you have a withdrawal. They want out. How would you have done that and not had what we saw the last 2 days?
Right. We have 20 years to prepare for this. So over that 20 years, we can make some better decisions here. Now, if we decided we're getting out, which we are, how about not giving the exact date and then not giving that September 11th date, knowing how important dates are to the enemy? What I would have done specifically was say, hey, we're leaving in the spring of 2022, summer of 2022, June 1st of 2022. How about that? And over this next few months, working on this visa issue, vetting the people that helped us over there to get them out, letting our special operations forces off the hook and hitting the Taliban and Al-Qaeda so hard that it puts them on their heels, puts them on the defensive, because we know we're getting out. And then instead of leaving on June 1st, we leave before December 31st of 2021. I mean, these are basics. These are something that anyone with common sense can figure out, and it's something that our senior level leaders are missing, that common sense piece.
All right, so Trump made a mistake by saying May 1st they were going to be out because he was the first one that put the time on it. So you're saying that was a mistake for him to do that?
Putting any time on that allows the enemy, gives them a data point from which to plan.
Right. Okay.
So we want to give them the time. We want to give them the wrong date is what we want to do.
So now, like we saw in Vietnam, we have a failure of civilian leadership. All right. Now, just to put it in some kind of perspective, I believe, and I talked to the president on Thursday, the former president, Donald Trump, and he would have hit back hard on these Taliban once they started this. He would have used a massive amount of power, and they knew it, which is why they didn't do anything while he was there. But he was the guy that put the timetable in motion, and Biden, taking over from Trump, the commander-in-chief, he picked up on it. I have been very hard on Joe Biden. I don't know what your politics are, Mr. Carr, and I don't really care. You're a patriot to me. You served your country honorably. You're an honest man. I don't care whether you're what party you're in. I think that this commander-in-chief, Biden, is as incompetent as I've seen any commander-in-chief in my lifetime. How do you see it?
I see that. I know you're big on accountability, as am I, and we were kept accountable on the battlefield. If we made a mistake on the battlefield, we were certainly held accountable. We would have been fired and sent home had we made the same types of decisions that our strategic level leaders made. There was a failure of leadership at our senior level military leaders and from our elected officials, and none of those senior level people, government and military, have been held accountable throughout the entire course of this war.
Well, they said they didn't do anything wrong. Biden's doing, I didn't do anything wrong. They haven't admitted anything. The only thing they said was we were surprised by the speed of it. They didn't say they did anything wrong. Not one thing. They won't admit to it. They won't cop to it. So that shows weakness to me, right? If you got a commander and you make a mistake, you tell your troops, that was a mistake. That's on me, right?
And that's how we learn and get stronger as a force going forward, by sharing those failures, learning from them, applying those lessons going forward as wisdom. And we tend not to do that in this country at our senior levels.
So Commander-in-Chief Biden, you rate him I
guess a 0 on a scale of 1 to 10.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I give him a 0 because I'm taking into account the southern border as well, which is a situation, as I said, humanitarian. Final question for you. Americans don't have any interest in the Afghans. You know, we want to protect ourselves from subsequent terror attacks. I do believe you're going to see Al-Qaeda and ISIS in particular reconstitute there in Afghanistan, do what they want, train, get money, all of that. I believe that will happen. Okay? But most Americans, you know, they go Afghanistan and don't know where it is. They don't know any history, as you pointed out at the beginning of the conversation. They're not interested in Alexander the Great or what the Soviets did. If it doesn't affect them directly, they kind of tend to dismiss it, and that's what Biden's hoping for. He hopes this is just maybe a 1-2 month storm and it blows over. Okay? Do you think it's going to blow over? Do you think Americans are so self-contained that something like this isn't really going to matter in the long run?
I think it's going to blow over for them, political elite leading class, because as a country, we don't invest back in our country anymore for the most part. World War II, everyone was touched somehow by World War II, whether they saved tires and donated that for rubber, whether they're putting up blackout curtains on the Atlantic or Pacific side of the country. Everybody was touched somehow. Very few people have invested in the country in this war effort. And for that reason, I think that this is going to blow over politically. Not blow over, perhaps. People will remember. There'll be a certain group of people that never forgets this. But the rest of the country, unfortunately, I think will move on.
Yeah, until we're attacked again by these terrorists who aren't going away. The book is The Devil's Hand. The author is Jack Carr. Mr. Carr, we appreciate talking with you. Thanks for helping us out tonight. Hey, I'm sure you've noticed that everything is getting more expensive. And with all this printing money and spending by the progressives, I'm concerned the dollar's end could be near. If the government continues this way, the dollar could freefall and lose its coveted role as the world's reserve currency. That's why there's never been a more important time to consider gold and silver to protect you and your family. And American Hartford Gold is the only company I'm happy to put my name behind. I have done business with them myself. It just takes a quick phone call and they'll have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA. Plus, tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you and they'll give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. So please don't wait. Call 866-501-5201, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Again, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Bill O'Reilly here. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure you subscribe to the First TV YouTube page. Just hit the big red subscribe button below, and you'll get clips and highlights of my program, The No Spin News, every single day. We'll see you soon.